Recorded live from Louisville, Kentucky and the North American Honeybee Expo in booth 706, this is Beekeeping Today Podcast, presented by Better Bee. Hey everybody, welcome back to the show for day 2 of Beekeeping Today Podcast, recorded live from the floor of the North American Honeybee Expo. It is a busy day, and no doubt you can hear it in my voice. We have people coming up to us all the time here at the booth, so let's sit back and hear from some of these folks right now. Everybody, I'm happy to say, before I got away and started talking to people, good friend Cliff Struhl showed up, said, "Hey Jeff, I've never talked to you before." And that's not true. Cliff's been on the show quite a few times. Cliff, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed being invited.
But yeah, so what do you think of this North American Honeybee Expo?
I guess I'm speaking out of school, but I think Cowan did a much better job here than at Hive Life last year. The vendor area is great. The attendees are great. It's just been a perfect experience.
It really is. As I've been telling the listeners, I've been amazed at the attendance and the displays. Everyone's having a great time. It's really good. So
I think pretty much everybody upped their game this year. It's a definite higher level than it was last year. A lot of interesting equipment on sale. A lot of good vendors here. I think they kind of got rid of the smaller people from last year that didn't do very well, and now it's real serious people.
Very serious, that's for sure. But fun-loving.
Oh, yeah. Serious sellers, real people, vetted people, and people that have real products and real knowledge and giving good knowledge out.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are you doing here?
That's a good question.
Well, no, actually, I didn't mean to say that in connection with vetting all the people out, but, you're working hard?
I'm working very hard. At Be Smart, we do not sell direct. We manufacture, engineer all of our products that are made in the USA. We're here to support our dealers. So I like to tell people we show, our dealers sell, and that's our idea. We make knowledge available to the people, explain how our products work, tell them where they can buy it so they can buy it from the dealers with a knowledge base.
I went by your booth. You have all your products on display there.
Yes, we do. We have working hives or full hive setup showing all the products. We're demonstrating how all the products get used. We introduced our new trivet, which is a pollen patty holder that prevents small hive beetle damage when you're feeding pollen patties in the spring. And we're also featuring our direct feeder, which is the only feeder that allows you to feed bees directly from the brood nest without leaving it, as well as our condensing hive system that's taking the industry by storm. Yeah. It's been a super popular item.
Well, you've been on the show before, and you've talked about that, which is a concept that's really catching on with the hive top, the feeder. What is catching most everybody's interest at the show today or this weekend?
There's two things that are doing it. One, we have a couple of small little helpful devices. We have a product called Pry Point that allows you to open up your hive with your hive tool without any damage to the hive or any banging on the hives. It's a simple little tool. And then we also have our handle that allows you to lift the hives easily. It's ergonomic, it's simple, you don't need gloves, it's very comfortable to use. But the big one has been what we call our condensing hive system. Mm-hmm. It's our insulated inner cover combined with our ventilated insulated cover and our direct feeder. Yeah. It all allows you to maintain the homeostasis in the brood nest, so you get stronger brood, healthier brood, and stronger colonies with lower losses.
The whole system is really, I enjoy it. People who listen to the show know I like gadgets. I like new things. I wouldn't call your products gadgets, but they're new technology that improve the quality of the experience for the beekeeper and the bees.
Well, I wouldn't exactly call it new technology because it's mimicking a tree, which is the natural environment for the bees. So yes, it's a new way to mimic that with an artificial hive. As I've always said, there's nothing natural about keeping bees in a wooden box in your backyard. So you need to try to get back to their natural environment as much as possible. Our unit has an R10 insulation that maintains the R10. It has the top that keeps the heat gain on the hive. So we're trying to mimic the hive and allow the bees to maintain that proper humidity and temperature in the brood nest to make sure you have good brood. A lot of people these days are complaining about quality of queens. And our belief is that there are issues with queens, but the biggest issue is the environment the queens are in. Because if you cannot maintain the proper temperature or humidity, the nurse bees will abandon the brood. So although the queen lays 1,000 to 2,000 eggs a day, if they don't get raised, you have no brood. It's very simple. If you let your hive get too warm in the summer because there's no insulation and you're not venting correctly, you're going to damage the sperm or reduce the fertility of the queen and of the drones.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of maintaining the proper environment, and you'll have much better success.
I really think that you're onto a good product there. I encourage our listeners to check it out. And well, I know that our sponsor, Better Bee, carries your product line.
Yes, Better Bee carries it along with all the major distributors and all regional distributors. We have about 40 or 50 dealers nationwide. You can visit our website at besmartdesigns.com, click on any product, click on where to buy, and within 2 clicks you can place an order with the dealer of your choice. Fantastic.
Well, Cliff, I'm glad you stopped by. I'm so delighted to meet you in person. We've talked many times and exchanged many emails, and it's great to meet you in person.
It's been a pleasure. The only thing I regret is I don't have my bicycle down here to go for a ride with you.
You know, I teased my wife when I left. I said the only thing I have to do now is to pack my bike, and she said, "You're not taking your bike, are you?" And I said, "No, just
not with the weather this morning, anyway."
No. It's rainy, wet. I can do that at home without traveling with the bike.
Well, if you come to EAS, I'll bring my bike.
Deal.
Thanks,
Cliff.
Thank you again. I appreciate the time.
Appreciate you being here.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. I am in front of the Pierco Beekeeping Supply Equipment Company. I'm talking to
Aaron with Pierco.
And
hi, this is John, the owner of Pierco.
Very good. Nice to meet you guys. How do you guys liking the show?
You know, we think it's a great attendance, bringing a lot of excitement to the bee industry, and we're able to get here and talk to a lot of folks and offer some good products and services that we do.
Fantastic. And what's the most popular item that you are selling or people are interested in this year?
Well, with Pierco, the claim to fame is our foundation and our one-piece bee frame and the cell definition and the amount of wax that we use. So we've been doing it for about 47 years, and we love working with folks that are in here today.
Yeah, Pierco is synonymous with the beekeeping and frames. I've seen it forever, as long as I've been in beekeeping. So 40 years explains it just about. So what are your plans for are you all going to other shows as well?
We've done a lot. We've done the California show. We've done the AHPA show. We've done the one up in Canada because we sell throughout Canada up in Edmonton. And there is an ABF show. Not sure we're going to be there this year because the North America Bee Exposition here has been so wonderful to us. I think we're going to finish it up strong and, again, show all the other products that we have to offer and get home and do some work.
Build everything that you've sold. Well, very good. Have a very successful show, and talk to you soon.
Yeah. Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Hey, everybody. Stop by the booth here is John and Corey Rose. So what are you guys finding at the show that you like?
Well, first of all, it's great that, there's, it's almost at capacity here. There seems to be a lot of people, some really good speakers, and a couple of really good products. The one that really stands out to me is and I think I'm going to get the name wrong, something comb. It's a little plastic inserts to use instead of Ross rounds or cut comb honey. They're little plastic inserts where the bees actually make it directly into the little plastic case. When they're done, you close it up, and it's a really finished product. I think is going to sell better to our higher scale customers that really don't know that much about cut comb honey. It'll be perfect on like the charcuterie boards and things like that.
Excellent. Yeah, probably the right size for charcuterie.
It's the right size. It's the right look. It doesn't look like something that just came. The young generation doesn't really get into that inch thick cut comb that us farmers really liked. They like that look that's going to look something that's going to look cool in the charcuterie board. And now I got to learn how to spell charcuterie.
Yeah, that's a challenge. And Corey, what have you found that you also like?
The biggest thing I like is meeting other beekeepers and their opinions on different things, how they do different things, how they sell their honey. Since I've started selling more at markets and that. I focus on different sales, presentation, so it's getting other people's opinions.
Fantastic. And that's the great thing about the community here, that you can learn from everybody.
Yeah. It's weird. It's like we're all a big family. Everyone's from around the world. It's amazing. They have a map out in the lobby where you put a little pin in where you're from, and you can see where everyone's from and all that. It's really cool. Everyone can relate so easy, and even the most uptight people open up to another beekeeper.
Why are you pointing at me?
And I will say that your shirts stand out.
Yeah. We've got a look made for radio.
It's too funny. Just for our listeners, striped yellow and black shirts, matching.
Yep.
And John has green hair.
Yep.
Is that normal, or is that just for the show?
It's mold. No, it's kind of normal. Yeah.
I'm sweating with that bee suit on, right?
Yeah, it gets really hot in the bee suit.
Well, enjoy the show. Thanks for stopping by,
Yeah.
And I appreciate you listening.
So we appreciate your podcast.
Yeah,
Thanks.
love it. A lot of good information. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, everybody, walking across the floor. Happened to run into Deb Klugher, who's been on the show in the past before. Deb, how are you finding the show?
I'm finding the show outstanding.
Well, what are you finding? What's the most amazes you about the show right now?
Well, I feel like we are at Disneyland, and this whole vendor area is Toys R Us for all of us, because it's just everyone's walking around smiling with oodles of items and bags overflowing and carts. So I think the vendors are happy and we're happy. A lot of new items and a lot of old friends here, so it's nice. And
this is Saturday. And it's suddenly the floor, the items in the floor booths is clearing out. It's amazing that's happening.
Absolutely.
So what have you done at the show? I hear that you entered the honey show?
I did enter the honey show. There was 76 classes to enter, and I entered 42. So I brought a lot of stuff down, and I actually won the second. So everyone that enters, you get points for your items. If you won first place, you get 6 points, second place 5 points, and so on. And they add up all the points, and the person with the most points wins the grand champion. And this show is interesting because they had a second place grand champion, like, the Miss America second place. And so that's what I won. I got the second grand champion.
Well, congratulations. That's really cool.
Yeah, I'm really proud of that.
Was there a honey that really stood out? Any one that gained more points than the other?
Well, what I won a few first prize ribbons in was floating candles. And I really worked hard. I kind of made the design and not just a mold. I actually put a few things together to make that a very large floating candle. I'm going to go down to ABF next week and enter that in their show.
Very cool.
And I won second in a mead. I won first in a household cleaner and in photography. So there's so much to our industry that's not just about honey.
Yeah.
We've got meads and drinks and beverages and cakes and candies and cookies. I made cookies, and I made a infused garlic, and I made a garlic preserve. I made a honey jelly.
It's past lunchtime and you're making me hungry.
Yeah, it's like a buffet in there, but we're not allowed to eat any of it.
Well, Deb, I'm so glad that you stopped by to say hi. Meet you in person, and have good luck in the rest of the show.
Thank you very much. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Bye.
I'm standing on the floor with Josh Cowan of Cowan Manufacturing. You may know of Cowan from the large extractors and everything that they've been making for years and years. Josh, tell us, our listeners, a little bit more about the Cowan Manufacturing and the extracting line that you've done.
Well, we've been in the beekeeping industry since about 1964, largely concentrating on the commercial side of the industry. We're noticed in the last decade that there's a trend moving towards the sideliners growing, where the commercial side is not, and so we just thought we'd try to bring the commercial grade quality to the sideliner industry.
And you cannot beat the Cowan quality and durability of the equipment. And that's why it's fascinating me with what you brought to the show, the whole honey house, basically extracting plant in a trailer.
Yeah, well, we have had that request for many years and fought against it. I never wanted to build a trailer, but it seemed to be something that a lot of people wanted. So this is our first foray into that kind of realm, and seems like a lot of people are interested in it.
Well, can we go and take a look at it, and you can explain just the key components of what you have here?
Sure. So it's a pretty simple process. We have the uncapper. When you get done uncapping, the reason we built a box extractor is simply for space. Mm-hmm. Our philosophy is the more times you touch a single frame by hand, the less efficient you are. So if we can load the extractor a box at a time, that cuts down on the process. Other than that, we just tried to make it as compact but usable as possible.
So the boxes enter on the back side of the trailer?
Yeah, the boxes enter on the back side of the trailer, go through the uncapper, and then get reboxed on the front end of the trailer and placed into the extractor. The cappings get pumped into the capping spinner, and all the honey from the extractor and the capping spinner flow into a sump, and then it's pumped through the bulkhead in the side of the trailer into a barrel or tote or whatever you have out here in this screen room. We have a special lid designed so that you can look through the window and see when it's full, but it keeps the bees from robbing while it's being filled.
Oh, absolutely. And what's the power requirements? I see a lot of electrical wiring inside the trailer.
40 amps, 220. We have a shore power plug on the other side of the trailer.
All right. Well, this is really spectacular, and for a sideliner who's looking to expand and do their work on site, this would be the ideal setup, I'd think.
Well, I don't know if I would want to do it on site at the bee yard unless you want to wear a bell the whole time you're extracting.
Yeah.
It's more, the idea is for a suburban beekeeper that doesn't have a facility to put all their extracting equipment in permanently. This is an option. They can park it in their driveway or at a different location where they have power, so that they don't have to clutter up their garage or their wife's kitchen. The other useful idea is a co-op. So if a dozen guys get together and want to pitch in on something like this, and then they take turns using it for their own crops, it's easier than having a central location where they all have to pay rent.
Now, are these custom designed, or do you basically have one setup that you build?
Well, this is the only one we've ever done, so we designed this one. We're open to suggestions on if somebody wanted a custom order one. Of course, we'd have to have the trailer built out. In the future, I think we'll have a trailer company do the custom part of it as far as the windows and AC and everything. This is AC equipped. It just kind of depends on what the customer wants to pay, I guess.
Yeah, it comes down to that. Well, this is really fascinating, and I encourage anyone who has any interest in expanding the operation, or like you said, a club or a co-op who wants to have one central portable extracting unit, this would be the thing to do.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. You bet. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, Josh. Appreciate it. This is really cool. I am now in the Propola Hive booth talking with Matt Shaw.
Yes.
So Matt, tell us about the Propola Hive, because this is I hate to use the pun because it's overused, kind of the buzz of the show, a lot of beekeepers, is the Propola Hive. Can you tell me what it is and what's so special about it.
Absolutely, yeah. So we're Premier Bee Products out of South Dakota. The Propola Hive is our new product that we're launching here at the North American Honeybee Expo. We're really excited about it. The long and short of it, we're mimicking the inside of a tree cavity. We roughen and groove the inside of the bee box to mimic that tree cavity where bees naturally nest. What that does is when you have a rough texture like that, the bees want to go out, collect resin, or also known as propolis, pretty much used interchangeably. They come back, they envelop the inside of their hive with that propolis. The research of the last 10 to 15 years has really shown how important that is for the health of the bees. Basically, what it comes down to, having a propolis envelope really reduces the disease load in the colonies. It lifts their populations, they're healthier, stronger colonies, and we're just really excited about it. So that's what we're doing here. We got about 5 distributors that are also selling the Propola Hive, and we're spreading the word about it. Marla Spivak of University of Minnesota has been talking on it. So we're excited about it.
Yeah, it's really exciting seeing this. I know everybody who's tried, who's been in bees for a while, has tried to scratch it up with a saw or whatever. But here you have it all already set. And you have boxes here sitting on the floor that have been spent a season with the bees, and they look really good actually.
Awesome. Yeah. And, a lot of people have come up and said, oh, I've been hearing about this. I try to scratch it myself. I do this. And that's great. That's a good, we do a lot to it. We distress them a lot, which really gets a nice envelope. But we're encouraging anybody that's got, hives, if they can do something to roughen that up and make it more like home to the bees. That's a good thing.
Excellent. Well, Matthew, good luck the rest of the show. This is a really interesting product. I look forward to hearing more about it.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You bet. Thanks, guys.
I've been talking to manufacturer and equipment suppliers for the last couple days. Now I've come across Chris Davis, who is Smoky Mountain Whipped Honey Company, Strawberry Plains Honey Company, excuse me. And Chris, what are you doing here at the show? What are you finding?
What I'm trying to do is network with other beekeepers, get ideas, because I've seen the direction of honey going toward the flavored markets with a lot of infused, smoked. My wife Stacy and I took our business in the direction of what we called whipped honey. We do ours a little different than what creamed honey is, but everything's a niche for like local markets, and whatever you can improve your sales on. I make more money off the whipped honey in a 10-ounce jar than what I do off a 1-pound jar of honey. And people love it. I mean, they put it on biscuits, toast, pancakes, their ice cream. I've even had people make videos trying to replicate it and remake it. And I won't tell them how we do it, which the beekeepers know how we do it. But if you would have told me 4 years ago to go the whipped or creamed honey market, I never would have believed it. But this is our whole focus. We're coming out with probably 4 or 5 more flavors this year. I think right now we carry 11, and then we have our Hillbilly Hot Honey. Hot honey's a big deal too. I've noticed a lot of garlic here. I've tried some other people's honey. There's so many great flavored honeys in here, and all these ideas and imaginations together is going to really help us.
What's selling the most? What is everyone commenting the most on?
Lemon Drop by far. Our Lemon Drop whipped honey is our number one seller. Peach is right behind it. Our elderberry, all natural elderberry. It's a close. It's between cinnamon and peach for second, and of course plain. Blueberry and strawberry cheesecake are pretty popular. We don't sell many mint chocolate chip or watermelon. But I've tasted some around here, and I'm coming out with a bunch of new flavors that, coming up with some ideas. There was another beekeeper he's a vendor here. He's got, we was talking about some peach habanero hot honey coming out, and so we're going to try that.
Well, that sounds really exciting. Well, Chris, good luck on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your information with us. And
if you haven't been to one of these shows, you got to come, because, I mean, there's a 20,000 hive commercial beekeeper in here that's blown away out of California. He's been talking to me. You just can't believe it until you actually come and see one of these shows.
I agree 100%. Thanks, Chris. Everybody, we're still in day 2. No, actually, well, my day 2, but it's day 3 of the show. Had the sitting here at the table, and guess who showed up? James Wilkes and Max Runzel of Hive Tracks. Hi, guys. It's good to meet you in person.
Hey, Jeff. It's great to see you again.
Yeah, finally. Leave Zoom behind.
But not across the Zoom table.
Well, as I said, it was great meeting you in person, and thanks for stopping by.
Sure thing.
So we talked briefly before the show at some point. But you guys are working some new products, new delivery, new presence, aren't you?
Yeah, Max, why don't you talk about the new business model that or pricing model, I guess is a better description.
Yeah, we're quite excited to do a couple of announcements, and the first one is that our mobile app that has gotten a lot of good feedback that we've been developing now over the last 2 years will be available for free for download on both Google Play and the Apple App Store.
Oh, so very cool.
Yeah, so that's going to be quite exciting. This is our day 3 in the fair, and we've had over 100 people come by and say hi and try it out and enjoy it, which has been really nice. And then the next question that people always ask is like, so how are you going to monetize this? So how can you make it? How can you make it that it's free? And that's obviously a fair question. So what we do charge for is a pro version that we're about to launch, which is directly coupled with the mobile app. So it gives you the same functionality, but enhancing it, giving access to a web portal that you can use. There's a couple things. Of course, it's easier to look at it at a bigger screen. You have a nice map. But the most interesting thing is that we're finally launching our honey traceability.
Can I talk about that part?
Please do.
Yeah,
right.
I was going to ask what is... So, yeah, the honey traceability, it's a project you've been working on for a while.
Yes, sir.
We've talked about it for years and years, and been an idea for even longer than that. When you use the web application, which is our paid version now, when you do a honey harvest, we automatically create something called a honey story for that harvest, and it gives data from the app that you've used in your beekeeping.
You've been monitoring
that you've been
yeah.
keeping up with your information in the app, and so it attaches a honey story to that harvest that then you as a beekeeper can use that with your honey. When you sell it, when you give it away, we give you a QR code that we generate, and it takes you to a honey story that has information about the honey, where it came from, the actual harvest, when it was, what the floral sources are that's in it. And for me, I produce sourwood honey, so I'm very interested in authenticating that sourwood honey. So it gives me a tool as a beekeeper. When I'm selling that, the consumer can go to the QR code, and it gives this data-backed profile of the honey. So that's a cool little thing that we're debuting through the web application.
That's very cool. Does the beekeeper then design? Who designs what information is
what
given?
It looks like? Yeah. So it'll be kind of a template, right? Like a little bit about the farm. You could put pictures. You can put videos.
All right.
You've got the kind of general area of where the honey came from. For my sourwood one, I've got the flavor profile of the honey itself, and then a little bit about sourwood trees. Again, any kind of information to kind of round out the knowledge for the consumer about the honey that's in your jar.
And the interesting thing, something that we're particularly excited about, is that you can manage different profiles. So you can manage, you will always have different customer groups. You will always have people who are interested in different aspects of the honey. So if you were to offer lip balm, beeswax, or honey for a restaurant, you would have 3 different honey stories. So within the app, you manage, depending on who you're selling to and for what time. You're good. So within the app, you're able to manage multiple brand identities almost with your harvest profiles, and that's something that we've received a lot of good feedback on, to say, okay, how do I do that? How do I produce different information for different types of honeys and products? And we hope that this is a solution that can help beekeepers do so.
Well, it sounds great. Does a beekeeper have to be a webmaster to design all of that, or is that?
No.
No, not at all. We've really worked hard
Exactly.
We've really worked hard to make sure that you reuse as much information as you can. So you have to create things once, Much of it is auto-generated. It's a lot of pop-ups that help you. And we were looking for a neat way to say, can we tie the everyday beekeeping into telling a better story about your honey? So how do we ensure that people, what they do every time they visit their yard, can add something, can add a little sprinkle, a little sparkle to the story that they tell at the end of the day to a consumer who's willing to purchase it. And that should be easy and seamless.
And that's hosted through the Hive Tracks app. The beekeeper doesn't have to have a special website to host this. Well, that's fantastic.
It's generated within our ecosystem, and the URL that it generates, we serve that up from our servers when the customers hit it. And again, it's a template. There's some content, like if you want to describe your farm or your bee operation, you could do that. So little places, kind of like a template.
Sure, profile, yeah.
And it's designed by, laid out by us, and so to be consistent in that way.
Is that available today?
When the web app comes out, that's going to be part of it, yes.
Right. And when do you expect that to release?
Within the next month, next 4 weeks or so.
Well, that sounds really cool. And the QR codes, just because I've been dealing with QR codes lately.
Everybody has. The pandemic really made QR codes popular again.
Yeah.
And everybody knows how to use them, which is good for us.
That is good. But you generate them. The app generates them.
Yep. Yes.
And so they don't have to worry about paying a subscription fee for a QR code. What about, do you provide a report to how many times that QR code for a specific honey is scanned?
Now you're getting into the fun side.
Yeah.
We haven't gone that far yet, but that's definitely
a data geek here sitting next to you.
That's on the roadmap. And the other interesting thing, something that we've been working on over the last 6 months, we've talked about it on the other podcast as well, that there will be an opportunity to get validation, Web3 blockchain validation of your data entry point.
Oh, yeah.
So that's another interesting aspect, again, where we've it's taken a lot of time for this technology to mature. It's a back-end technology. So again, it's nothing that the beekeeper directly with the user interacts with, but it's something more, it's like a switch that you can turn on or turn off so that every time you record data with the app, it gets validated. And then upon validation, if the data is truthful, if it looks good, it's written to a blockchain, to a distributed ledger, and then people can actually see those entries on a blockchain on the profile if you want to. So it's like an advanced feature. It's something that you can turn on if you want to, but it's something that we've done in cooperation with a partner, and we're quite excited about, because it's one of the topics that got James and me together in the first place. And now being able to roll it out as a tangible honey story that has a blockchain-based validation in the back end, something that we're quite excited about.
That is exciting. This is a great topic, and much more than we can do right now. Would you guys be willing to come back on the show later this spring?
Oh, sweet. Yeah.
Sure. Absolutely. For that, the whole traceability, blockchain, authentication, that's something that we really are passionate about, and are working hard on as Max said, on the digital back end side for things that most normal beekeepers aren't going to care about, but that we care about from a data integrity standpoint, right? But before we run off in that direction too much, the other really valuable part about the web application that is getting a lot of traction and is attractive and is enabling people to do, or will enable them to do, is the web application could be used by a club or a mentor and have a web application, and then any of the members of the club or mentees have the mobile application, which is free, and all that information can then flow into that one group account. The web application, we have the ability on that account to add beekeepers to it, so we can create sort of arbitrary groups of beekeepers. So the web portal will be a aggregation point for those beekeepers, and you could do mentoring, or you can do club sort of information. That's a whole nother aspect that is maybe even more valuable to me than the honey authentication for the broader community.
Yeah. That's really exciting. That is exciting stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward to having you back. I know Becky Masterman, who's working with me now, it will be excited to work with you or talk to you and find out what you're doing. So
I'm happy to talk to her too.
And we've been doing the podcast, I think, will be 7 years this summer. James, I think
Nice.
you've been on at least once every year of those 7 years.
Maybe so. Yeah.
I think it's good. It's good.
I'm happy to be. I appreciate you all, for being here and allowing me to be on and share my passion for what I love.
Oh, fantastic. Well, thanks. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jeff. You take
Thanks,
care.
Jeff.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, everybody. I am really happy that sitting with me now is Victor Croker from Australia. Victor's been on the show once or twice before, talking about his Hive IQ system. Victor, you are a commercial beekeeper?
That's correct, yes. So I'm a third generation commercial beekeeper. Like I said, I think I probably did the intro in the last podcast, but from the 1920s, my grandmother was sort of the first generation, and my dad and I've been keeping bees since I could get in the truck, climb into the truck with my dad. So professionally, I've got about a 40-year span where I've been keeping bees commercially.
Yeah.
With the exception, a little bit of a break in the middle there where I got involved in some other things. But yeah.
And that lends to your experience and your background to help have developed a new hive system that you're bringing to the United States.
Yeah.
It's called the Hive IQ.
Hive IQ is the company. We manufacture that hive currently in Australia, and it's a next generation. I call it a next generation beehive. But the thing that we discovered 13 years ago was that insulation really matters. I mean, we got fed up with seeing the stress and the hardship that our bees were dealing with in the cold. So and also the extreme heat in Australia. We probably don't get as cold as some of the states here. We get down to about 20 degrees Fahrenheit, which is probably around -6, -8 degrees Celsius, but still very stressful for the bees. And then we get up into the 120s, 40. High 40s, almost 50 degrees Celsius. So, and we saw high stress. So it kind of triggered. 12 years ago, we did some testing. We set up 2 apiaries of 120 hives. 60 of those hives were traditional 10-frame wooden hives, and 60 were highly insulated hives that we sourced from Europe and other places. And what we discovered very quickly was that the colony produced a lot more honey in the insulated hive. And we just saw benefits like the queens were lasting longer. All the condensation and the wetness disappeared, all those issues disappeared. So that kind of started the journey to developing this next generation beehive. The problem we had back then is the hives weren't optimized for commercial beekeeping. So everything we've done in our design, we've designed it as a commercial beekeeper. But as it turns out, the designs work really well for hobbyists, so they scale down, if you like. So rather than trying to design it as a hobbyist and then scale it up for commercial, which rarely works, we've come in it from a different angle.
The appealing part of the Hive IQ is that it's so insulated, and an integrated system. And I mean, I think I've heard as many remarks about the uniqueness of the bottom board than I've heard about anything else. And for people to get excited about a bottom board is kind of novel.
Yeah, I mean, the Hive Base is it's the foundation of any hive. And for us, we put a lot of innovative, I guess, design thinking into the design of that. And for example, we've just launched in the US our new integrated pollen collection system. And I'm of the view when you integrate technology into your hive, it should be almost invisible. So it shouldn't be like a clunky sort of add-on that gets in the way, and it's a challenge to deal with. So our pollen collectors seamlessly integrated into the hive. So for a hobbyist, for example, or an enthusiast that wants to collect some pollen either for their own personal consumption, make their own smoothies, or if they want to collect pollen during good times when there's plenty of pollen coming in, and store it and then have it available to make patties or feed it back to the bees during the dearth. So that gives the hobbyist lots of options. But for the commercial, we're seeing more and more commercials now using pollen as another source of revenue, and so covering off both areas there, the commercial and the hobbyist.
And one of the things that we were talking about over in your booth that you're working on that's really captured you right now is developing the software part of the Hive IQ system.
Yeah, that's That's correct. So our team is really focused now on developing and commercializing or bringing to market, making it available is our software ecosystem. I call it an ecosystem because it's not just one thing. So when you're looking at software, we don't want to have something that does one thing, because that's sometimes referred to as a one-trick pony.
Yeah,
if you like.
Yeah.
So we look at beekeeping as a very holistic thing, and beekeepers do lots of things just in everyday today beekeeping, and most of it is not, and it's valuable. I believe it's very valuable information, data, but most of it's not captured, or if it is, it's 2 rocks on the lid means that it needs some help. I need to come back later and fix something, or I've turned the brick on its end. That means it's been re-queened.
Or worse, on the back of a receipt on the dashboard of the truck.
That's right. So we've been really focused on, first and foremost, building a platform that's open source. It's open, it's enterprise grade, and we want a platform it's a multi-tenancy, high availability. So it's got all those enterprise software features that it's not just an app that we've built in the garage and it's up on the App Store.
Yeah.
And it breaks every other day. So it's got to be rock solid, robust, and enterprise grade. So we've done that, and we've really focused on building the fundamentals first. So the fundamentals to me is just everything that we do as a day-to-day beekeeper. So it's logging events, all the events like harvesting, inspections, disease treatments, feeding, splitting, requeening. But the problem is you've got to give beekeepers a reason to do that extra step and log the data. And for me, a friend of mine, Larry Audit, just gave me a little inspiration recently. He said, well, why are we doing this? And he said the reason we do these types of things is because we want to understand what matters most. And I thought, wow, that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to understand what matters most about for the beneficial, for the health and well-being of our colonies. Mm-hmm. And to me, if I had to say what matters most, I think the first and foremost important thing for bees is where they live. So if we put them in a non-insulated, drafty, wet environment, I think it's. But the flip side of that, when we give them a warm, insulated environment, it has a huge impact on their well-being, their productivity. So I think that's what matters most. But where we're going with our software is being able to understand what matters most and prioritising those things. And so when we feed all this data in, we've got data that's beekeeper input, and then we've got data that's sensor input from inside the hive, outside the hive. We've got valuable external sources of data like weather integration. Wow. Weather is a pretty impressive data point for bees. It has when you correlate, for example, honey flow and how well it's performing, weather plays a part in that. Certainly, big time. Yeah. So we're building a platform that brings all this data, the sensors into a data lake, and then we can start to use some of these cool machine learning, AI analytics tools to create outputs. And to me, an output is something that's got to be valuable to the beekeeper. So when we can see all this data, we start to correlate this data, then we need to give the beekeeper feedback on, okay, your bees, based on your hive scales and the environment around and the dirt, the period, your bees could be hungry. You need to feed them within the next 10 days. So we need to log that to the beekeeper, bring that as an alert. And then when the beekeeper actually does the thing, goes and does the feed, we want them to log that. So we've got this continual loop of evolution and improvement and optimization of the beekeeping environment.
And that's so important to have a single source for any busy beekeeper, any busy person, but a busy beekeeper having a central dashboard of just one view to have a quick overview of what's going on and let you and alert you so you can focus on what you need to at that time, because all of our time is very precious. Very valuable, and so that you're not opening 100 hives to find one problem.
Yep.
You're alerted to one problem.
Yes.
And you can go directly to that.
That's right. So when the beekeeper logs in, we don't want to overwhelm them with just a very busy dashboards with so much going on. We want to really bring to the top, filter to the top the three important things. And then if they want to dive down deeper, the dashboard design is centered around the beekeeper, but they can then go down in layers And some beekeepers like to look at squiggly lines, they're more the geeky, analytical types.
Yeah.
But if you're like me, I just want to see what are the 3 things I need to do today. So that's kind of, it's about a user experience. The user experience is critical. I've learned that, you can have the best software, the best system in the world, but if it's not beautiful, enjoyable, easy to use, and useful, nobody's going to use it.
That's right. Or it won't be used long. That's for sure. Well, Victor, I hope that you come back as your system develops, as you develop more product. I think it's innovative. It's exciting to see.
Yeah, and one thing I'd like just to make your listeners aware of is if you haven't already read it, you need to read Professor Derek Mitchell's recent research paper that was published about the comparison between insulated and non-insulated hives. And there's a couple of really key takeaways here. One thing that he pointed out in his research is that the cluster temperature, and I'm talking about outside ambient temperature, in our traditional wooden hives is about 50 degrees Fahrenheit, which is I think 10 degrees plus Celsius. But in the poly hive, well, he calls it poly hive, but effectively it's our type of hive, it's about 36 degrees Fahrenheit lower. So when the temperature drops down to around 14 is when our poly hive starts to cluster. So that's the first thing. The other thing is consumption of food. And a lot of hives die out, not from the cold, even though the cold's really hurting them. They actually die out from starvation because when the bees have got those heater bees, they're doing their thing that's high metabolic stress on those bees, and they've got to consume a lot of food. So a lot of the times it's actually starvation that kills them. Even the insulated hive is the root cause of the non-insulated hive, I mean, but the actual the thing that kills them in the end sometimes is that starvation.
And I think where I'm afraid many of us will find some of that starvation in our colonies as we start opening them up this month and next month. But
yeah, and that's where our technology comes in too. Is rather than waiting until the spring when we first open our hives up, if we've got the technology on board, we can say, hey, there's a problem here, and we can take action. And one thing about an insulated environment for the bees when they're not clustered up is you can actually feed them a lot later into the season. So as a lot of your listeners probably know, when the bees cluster up, you can have food right next to the colony, the cluster, and they'll still starve because they can't actually break the cluster. They're too cold to break the cluster and get the food. So in an insulated hive, the bees can move around the hive a lot more freely and access food. So it's longer.
Oh, good. Well, Victor, thanks for stopping by the booth, and good luck with the rest of the shows in this month.
Yeah, it's been it's been a great conference. Cayman's done an awesome job, and the audience here has been phenomenal. The beekeepers we've met, the North American beekeepers, very open-minded to new ideas, so it's been a very enjoyable conference.
I've enjoyed it. Well, thank you, Victor. We'll talk to you soon, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Okay, well, that about wraps up for this year at the North American Honeybee Expo in Louisville, Kentucky. I've really appreciated talking to everybody. In fact, I've talked my voice all the way out. I have got nothing left, but it sure was fun talking with everyone, visiting with folks who came to the booth and said hi. All the great words and kind words people mentioned about Kim and missing him, as we all do. And the kind words about Honeybee Obscura and Jimmy 2. And Kirsten and 2 Million Blossoms. So thanks a lot, everybody, and I hope everyone has a great season. And in just a couple days, we're going to have our regular Monday release of Beekeeping Today podcast. So I hope you're listening. Thanks, folks.